Ethan and I had been at each other's throats our entire lives. On his deathbed, he spitefully donated every last penny of his fortune. Staring at my zero-balance bank account, I wanted to drag his corpse out and curse him to the deepest pits of hell. Emily died. Ivy, why do you get to keep living comfortably? I'll make you lose everything: money, dignity, everyone who ever cared about you. Rage-induced cerebral hemorrhage claimed me that same day. We died together. Here, my mom made these rice balls. Ethan shoved warm food into my hands along with a carton of milk. Did you pick your piece for the New Year's Eve show yet? His lanky teenage frame radiated youthful energy as I stared. Disoriented. Reality crashed over me. I'd time travel back to the day Emily transferred to our school. Back when Ethan still acted like my kind childhood friend. Before Emily's performance of Sweet Andalous at that fateful talent show bewitched him. Before my birthday party drunken mistake that made him miss Emily's final call, the one that drove her to slit her wrists. Before he blamed me for everything. You okay? Ethan frowned, reaching to check my temperature. I flinched 2 steps back. Not hungry. Gotta go. I thrust the food at him and bolted. His confused "Ivy?" echoed behind me as I sprinted to class. When he entered moments later, I kept my back turned, fake laughing with desk mates. Our teacher walked in with Emily before he could approach. My shoulders relaxed seeing her, porcelain skin, waist-length dark hair, morning dew fragility making every boy sit straighter. I glanced sideways. Sure enough, Ethan's eyes sparkled like 4th of July fireworks. I mentally kicked my past self for missing these obvious signs. Not this time. I'd stay galaxies away from that lunatic. Class. Meet Emily, our new transfer student, the teacher announced. Who'll help her adjust? Last life. Ethan had nudged me to volunteer so he could take my back row seat. 4 months afterward, he'd forced me to include Emily everywhere under the guise of being a good desk neighbor. Now I recognized his pathetic crush from day one. Disgusting, using me as his courting prop. Right on cue, Ethan's voice rang out, Ivy should do it. She's class secretary anyway. He'd already started gathering his books. Smugly certain I'd obey like always. I spun toward the teacher. Actually, senior year coursework's overwhelming enough. I can't take this on. The hesitation flashing across our teacher's face pleased me. My top-tier grades were too valuable to risk. Ethan didn't expect me to refuse. He frowned, paused, then looked at me. Ivy? I knew what he meant. He wanted me to agree. He shot me a glance before turning to the teacher. Sir, Ivy's just joking. She, teacher. I'm not joking. I cut Ethan off. I have too much homework and no time to mentor anyone. Since Ethan loves helping classmates so much, why not let him sit with the new student? I swiftly gathered my books and moved to an empty seat at the back. I can sit here. The class froze. Even my new desk mate stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Everyone knew Ethan and I were inseparable, practically joined at the hip. Early on, even our teacher had worried we were dating and called our parents. The whole school assumed we were a couple. Now, watching me abandon my seat, half the class gaped in disbelief. My new neighbor was a tall, athletic girl with short hair and mediocre grades. I smiled. Mind if I sit here? Grace snapped out of her daze and nodded vigorously. The teacher, seeing me settled, directed Emily to my old seat. But Ethan didn't look pleased as I'd expected. He lifted his head, gazing at me with wounded eyes. I calmly looked away. When class ended, Ethan loomed over my desk. Why'd you move? Before I could answer, he snapped. Some class president you are. Refusing to help a new student? How selfish. I met his glare evenly. Play hero yourself. Why assume I'll obey you? Are you insane, Ivy? His voice rose. It's just a seat change. What's your problem? Emily approached hesitantly. Are you two fighting because of me? I stayed silent. Though Emily hadn't wronged me in our previous life, every entanglement between Ethan and me had revolved around her. Neutrality felt impossible. Tears pooled in Emily's eyes as she glanced at Ethan. Ivy should take her seat back. It's hers, enough. Ethan cut her off. She chose to leave. Let's go. He dragged Emily away, throwing over his shoulder. Like I care. Grace studied me nervously. You're really not going back? I pulled out homework with a grin. Absolutely. After school, Ethan didn't wait for me as usual, walking out with Emily instead. Classmates shot me curious looks. Noticing Grace's concerned expression, I hurriedly packed up. Let's go. She hovered awkwardly until we reached the school gate. At the intersection, we parted ways. Home alone today. Ivy? My mother called from the kitchen. Where's Ethan? I stared at her bustling figure, eyes welling up. Mom. I hugged my mother tightly. She was startled by my sudden outburst of affection. What's wrong? Did you fight with Ethan? I wiped my tears. No. I'm going to do homework. I rushed back to my room. In my previous life, when my mother passed away, Ethan hadn't even bothered to show up. The whispers from relatives and their judgmental stares weighed on me like physical burdens. I stormed into Ethan's office only to find his female secretary sitting in his lap, their clothes disheveled. Enraged, I smashed everything in the office. Ethan looked at me as if I were insane. Done with your tantrum? Then get out. Stop embarrassing yourself here. His indifference cut deeper than any blade, each cold glance leaving me breathless with pain yet painfully lucid. Yet on that birthday, it was Ethan who got drunk first. After helping him back to his room, he kissed me as I turned to leave. That night, Emily made over 100 calls he never answered. By the time they rushed her to the hospital after her suicide attempt, it was too late. For decades afterward, Ethan didn't just drown himself in guilt, he dragged me down with him. He claimed my momentary weakness that birthday night had been deliberate seduction, that I'd caused Emily's death. For years, he treated me so tenderly I believed marrying him was life's greatest blessing. But after our wedding, he transformed into a stranger, philandering openly, subjecting me to emotional neglect. Back then, unaware of his history with Emily, I kept trying to fix our relationship. No matter how hard I tried, Ethan remained distant until the night he drunkenly called out Emily's name, finally connecting all the dots. I hated him for blaming me for Emily's death, for pursuing then destroying me, for filling our home with silence while scattering his affections elsewhere. I couldn't accept it. Couldn't let go. Why should he ruin my life? We became that miserable couple, bound by resentment. Ethan's contempt grew so profound that on his deathbed, he donated all his assets just to sneer at me. Ivy, why should you thrive while Emily's gone? I'll leave you destitute, alone, with nothing. He succeeded. Left penniless, homeless, childless after he'd refused to have kids with me. I even considered desecrating his grave. But when I arrived at the cemetery with a shovel, I found Emily buried beside him. The world spun as I collapsed. In these recent days, Ethan seems to haunt me deliberately, appearing everywhere with Emily. Even the daily carton of milk he used to leave on my desk now sits on hers. Rumor says they nearly got caught at the internet cafe together last night. I ignore the classroom whispers, the memories burning like acid. Since I was fully focused on preparing for the college entrance exams, I had no energy to deal with Ethan. In my previous life, I intentionally underperformed to attend the same university as him, abandoning my dream school. Now looking back, I realized how foolish that decision had been. During break, Grace and I went to the restroom. On our way back, Grace suddenly pulled me aside as a basketball whizzed past my nose. A shrill scream pierced the air. Turning around, I saw Emily clutching her bleeding nose. As classmates escorted her to the infirmary, Grace and I returned to class. "That was close. It almost hit you," Grace exclaimed, still shaken. I nodded, my heart racing. If that ball had struck me, I'd be the one in the infirmary right now. The bell rang for next period. I'd barely opened my textbook when Ethan stormed over, violently sweeping all my belongings onto the floor. The entire class froze in shock. "Ivy, you're despicable," Ethan shouted, face flushed with anger. "Just because Emily's friends with me, you had to sabotage her. She's still in the infirmary. When did you become so vicious? What exactly did I do that's so unforgivable?" I stood firm. "Enlighten me, Ethan. You deliberately hurt Emily," he accused. "I only asked you to help the new student. When you refused because it might distract from your studies, I took it upon myself. Wasn't that enough? Why take it out on her? What did Emily ever do to you?" The absurdity struck me like cold water. Having been married to this man for decades in my past life, I'd never seen him this irrational. First, I enunciated clearly. "You volunteered to help the new student. I simply didn't stop you." Second, multiple witnesses can confirm I didn't target anyone. Third, I pointed at my scattered belongings. "Pick these up now, or I'm reporting you to the principal for bullying." Ethan's retort died as Emily rushed in, pale and teary-eyed. "Ethan, please don't fight because of me." She clung to his arm like a wilted flower, turning to me with exaggerated remorse. She sniffled. "Ivy, I'm sorry my presence caused trouble between you two. I'll stay away from Ethan from now on." With a dramatic glance at Ethan, she fled the classroom clutching her face. "Emily!" Ethan shot me a venomous look before chasing after her. The classroom door slammed shut. My desk partner gaped. "Are we in some cheesy soap opera?" Grace blurted. I couldn't help laughing. Even straightforward Grace saw through Emily's act. Yet Ethan remained oblivious. Well, as the saying goes, it takes two to tango. This lifetime, they could play their little drama without dragging me into it. After that incident, Ethan and I stopped speaking. We avoided each other completely, our growing estrangement noticeable even to our parents. Returning home one afternoon, I found Ethan and his mother waiting in our living room. "Ivy's back, Mrs." Harper rose with forced cheerfulness, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Today is your birthday. Let's go eat buffet together, okay?" Ethan and I have birthdays just one day apart. Every year, Ethan's birthday was celebrated a day early, so it wasn't surprising Mrs. Smith suggested this. I glanced at Ethan. I thought he'd been glued to Emily lately and would brush me off, so I expected him to refuse. But he stood up with Mrs. Smith, clearly waiting for Mom and me to join. Mom vaguely sensed tension between Ethan and me but assumed it was another trivial spat that'd resolve quickly. She told me to put on my shoes, not wanting our conflict to affect the adults. I went along. At the restaurant, Ethan sat until his mother nudged him. "Aren't you getting food for Ivy?" I protested, but he swiftly returned with a plate. When Mom's pre-ordered cake arrived, Ethan and I wore birthday hats while our moms lit the candles. Mid-meal, Mom and Mrs. Smith left to shop, leaving just Ethan and me. We sat in silence until he slid grilled shrimp onto my plate. When I didn't react, he pushed a gift box toward me. "Wanna see?" He opened it himself, a pastel fluid bare inside. "Didn't you want this forever? I got it for you," he added pitifully. "Consider this my apology, okay?" Meeting my gaze, he mumbled. I asked around. That day, You really didn't mean for Emily to get hurt. I pushed the shrimp aside without eating. You're still mad? He asked stiffly. I'm not. My tone was flat. It's not worth it. He visibly relaxed. You've avoided me all week. Let's walk to school together tomorrow. What about your Emily? Ethan? A voice interrupted. Emily stood before us, eyeing the cake and fluid bear. I was shopping with friends. Saw you here. She smiled at me. Ivy, is today your birthday? What a pretty gift. When I kept eating silently, Ethan frowned. Where are your friends? They left when I came over. Have you eaten? Join us. Ethan offered, scooting over. Really? I wouldn't want to intrude. Get whatever you like, he said, blushing as he stood. Emily picked up the fluid bear without asking, hands dangling it precariously over the edge. Is this from Ethan? You can have it, I said. She froze. Seriously? She brought in some liquid bears. I nodded and kept eating my food. Well, I won't stand on ceremony then. When Ethan returned, Emily had just moved the gift box aside. Ethan, Ivy said she doesn't like this gift and wants me to have it. You don't mind, do you? Ethan's face darkened. You gave away what I gave you? I nodded. She was holding the box mid-air earlier. I was afraid if I didn't hand it over, she'd just drop it, crash. You know what that means? Ethan frowned at Emily. Emily paled, tears immediately welling up in her eyes. Ethan. I didn't. She turned to me, standing up. Ivy. If I'm not welcome here, I can leave. Please don't be like this. Then leave. I nodded. Emily's expression changed. After glancing at Ethan, she bit her lip and ran off crying. Ethan glared at me. Ivy, what's your problem? Why can't you tolerate Emily? Just because I'm close with you doesn't mean I can't have other friends. Are you trying to control who I hang out with? He suddenly swept his arms across the table, sending the liquid bears and plates crashing to the floor. I stared at the shattered liquid bears, feeling a pang of regret. What did they ever do wrong? What's going on here? Our mothers stood nearby, staring at us in shock. I wiped the corner of my mouth with a tissue before standing. Auntie, Ethan and I don't get along anymore. We should spend less time together. I led my mom out of the buffet restaurant. When Mom asked what happened, I explained everything about the transferring student ruining our friendship. She sighed quietly. Ethan always seemed so normal before. I smiled faintly. Mom, let's move to the villa. Our family had purchased and furnished the villa 6 months ago. We'd stayed for the old neighborhood and my school commute with Ethan. Seeing my genuine distress, Mom finally agreed. I'll call the movers immediately. The new house was actually closer to my school, with professional movers handling everything. We settled in that same night. The new place gifted me an extra half-hour of sleep and study time daily, absolute bliss. As New Year's Eve approached, Ethan had been completely ignoring me. As if to spite me, he and Emily became inseparable. They even went camping together once, returning with telltale hickeys on Emily's neck. Grace. You don't think Ethan and Emily actually, you know? Grace blushed, glancing at the couple sharing a sandwich and milk across the cafeteria. I shook my head without looking up from my homework. Not our business. Grace suddenly nudged me under the table. Pissed. She's coming over. I looked up to see Emily approaching nervously. Ivy, there's something I need to ask you. I crossed my arms and leaned back in my chair. If you already know it'll trouble me, why bother asking? Emily clearly hadn't expected this response. She bit her lip and glanced at Ethan. But I caught the fleeting triumph in Ethan's eyes. He seemed delighted to see me being harsh with Emily. as if this proved I still cared about him. Ivy, could you let me take your sunny day performance slot for the New Year's Eve show? Ethan originally signed us up for this duet. Her voice quivered. We both loved that song. So we planned for him to play violin while I accompanied on piano. Everyone knows this arrangement. I blinked, genuinely confused. In my previous life, Emily had never approached me like this. She'd instead performed the Andalusia suite that night, instantly capturing Ethan's heart. Why was she suddenly changing tactics to target the specific song? When I remained silent, Emily's tears spilled over. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to steal your song. If you refuse, just pretend I never asked. Please don't be angry. She bowed deeply at the waist, her posture exaggeratedly submissive. I know you resent how Ethan's been helping me lately, but I swear I'm not trying to take him from you. Grace leaned over with mock conspiratorial loudness that carried across the classroom. Is this what those romance novels call a drama queen? Several students snickered. I couldn't bear seeing beauty in distress anyway. Truth be told, the idea of performing with Ethan made my skin crawl. Emily's request provided the perfect escape. Sure. It's yours. I agreed breezily. Emily's triumphant smirk froze as Ethan stormed over. How dare you give away our song? Ivy? He roared, his expression so fierce even Emily shrank back. Didn't you send her to ask me? I raised an eyebrow. I never did any such thing. Aw. I turned to Emily. So you're saying Miss Smith here manipulated me with fake tears to surrender the performance slot? I gestured to our audience. Everyone witnessed her waterworks before I even responded. Had I refused, I'd be branded the bully, wouldn't I? Ethan flushed crimson. That's not what I meant. Then enlighten me. My voice turned glacial. Ethan, do you think I'm some pathetic fool? You two can keep your sickening little dance. But don't expect me to applaud. What's next? Should I cheer when you screw each other? Do you need me to complete your twisted fantasy? The slap echoed through the suddenly silent room. Next time you approach me, I hissed, palm stinging, a slap will be the least of your worries. Your constant hovering makes me sick. Ethan clutched his cheek, trembling with rage. Fine. We're through. I laughed coldly. You figured that out just now? Who wants to play house with him like a little kid? During the New Year's Eve performance, Ethan Harper and Emily Smith's duet brought thunderous applause. Everyone said they had amazing couple chemistry. With Emily's beauty and Ethan being campus royalty, they quickly became the school's hottest topic. Originally, the class representative wanted me to perform Emily's piano piece, but I refused. Not that I couldn't play it well, I just had too many practice exams to tackle without distractions. Rumors said neither went home after the show. Soon they officially announced their relationship, sparking campus-wide envy. I couldn't care less. In my past life, Emily's suicide left Ethan emotionally wrecked. I wasted months comforting him instead of studying, ultimately failing my dream college. This time, nothing stops my ambitions. Winter break brought urgency, even on vacation. Study groups formed, while avoiding crowds. I kept busy at home. Ethan and I barely spoke, though social media showed him and Emily traveling everywhere. These posts left me unfazed now. I kept Ethan's contact purely out of indifference. Post-break, my schedule intensified. Mom obsessively studied nutrition guides to cook brain-boosting meals. Our home became a silent sanctuary during study hours. Days before college entrance exams, I caught a fever from late-night cramming, medicated and bedridden with textbooks. My phone buzzed, Ethan's name flashed. Why aren't you at school? No reply. Teacher said you're sick. Need medicine? 10 minutes later you're not home? When did you move? Answer me. Ivy, you're doing this to punish me, aren't you? Send your address now. I stared at his manic texts. Little did he know these 6 months without him had been blissful. What fresh madness was this? Just as I tried sleeping, the doorbell erupted. Mom's grocery run left me alone. The relentless buzzing continued. Snatching a frying pan, I yanked the door open. Get lost! I brandished the pan. Wait! Ivy! Ethan stumbled back, lifting a pharmacy bag. I brought medicine. I don't want it. Stop being stubborn. You need. I slammed my bedroom door. His fists pounded the wood. Open up. I know you're mad I disappeared. Emily monitors my phone 24/7, she checks my passwords. My location. I couldn't contact you even if I wanted. You have no idea, if I so much as talk to another girl. She threatens to jump off buildings or slit her wrists. I can't take it anymore. Ivy. Ivy. Listen to me. I didn't hear the rest because Mom came home. Later, Mom couldn't resist texting Ethan's mother. She warned Mrs. Harper to keep Ethan away from disturbing my studies, saying she'd be eternally grateful if they could just let me focus on my exams. No idea what Mrs. Smith said to Ethan, but afterward he returned to normal, except for that conflicted look he'd get whenever he spotted me from afar. I pretended not to notice. After finals, I immediately packed and went traveling with Mom. Sure enough, Ethan messaged as soon as we left, Ivy. Are you home? I blocked him everywhere. When Harvard's acceptance letter arrived, Mom nearly burst with joy. Let's skip going back home. Ivy. We'll head straight to Boston. I nodded, smiling. Ethan's POV Ivy vanished after graduation. Well, went traveling. I went to her place multiple times, nothing. When I asked Mom where they'd gone, she just glared at me. She's disappointed. My college scores barely scraped the bottom tier. She blames Emily for everything. Truth is, I'd wanted to break up with Emily for a while. But every time I tried, this fragile girl would threaten self-harm. The first time I saw her wrists bleeding, I panicked and rushed her to the ER. I wanted out, but she swore she'd kill herself if I left. So I stayed. Then the control began. If I spoke to another girl, replied to a text late, she'd spiral, smashed our apartment, then sobbed for forgiveness. I was losing my mind. I applied to the farthest college possible. But when acceptance letters came, I found Emily had hacked my portal last minute to enroll us together. You think you can escape me, Ethan? She hissed. I gave you my virginity. You're stuck with me forever. Cheat. And I'll cut off your dick, believe it. I raged. Fought. Nothing worked. Now we're at the same university, where pretty girls swarm everywhere. Emily's grip tightens by the day. She followed me like a conjoined twin, not even allowing me basic social interactions. She monitored my every move daily and even harassed my roommates. Eventually, my roommates grew so annoyed they gently suggested I either switch dorms or move out to live with my girlfriend. Seeing their increasingly distant expressions, I finally snapped. You want to die? Then die. Why? Why did you have to ruin me? I screamed hysterically, dragging Emily to the rooftop. Suddenly fearful, she pleaded, Ethan. Stop. Please calm down. I'm sorry. I'll break up with you. Don't kill me. When I shoved her against the rooftop edge, she wet her pants in terror. As police restrained me, I burst into manic laughter. What had I become? My entire life destroyed by this person. Since meeting her, I'd abandoned my childhood friend. I'd thrust lunchboxes and milk cartons into Ethan's hands before fleeing. She trapped me through constant suicide threats, forcing endless compromises until I became her prisoner. That day on the rooftop, I finally won our toxic battle. Yet my victory earned me 7 years for attempted murder. Emily refused all plea deals. He deserves imprisonment, she told my begging mother. Monsters like him should never walk free. Tears fell as I remembered earlier tragedies, failing college entrance exams, having my academic future stolen. But only now, caged and broken, did I understand true darkness. My life's blackest night had just begun.